Thomas Edison had only created one trial at the light bulb, and then the first time that it was like, oh, well, it failed, and it's just a binary on-off failure. But no, what he looked at is said, oh, well, what about this particular thing can I change for next time? Then he would change it. It's like, oh, what about this particular thing can I change for next time? And then all of a sudden, one of the greatest technology revolutions that has ever happened is now we have light, because he was willing to embrace those. Welcome back to the Dataliction Podcast, where leaders learn how to grow their businesses on purpose by turning data into action and action into growth. In today's conversation, Travis and I shift the focus away from the technology itself, and we actually talk about something way more important, and that is the human side of change. And why? Well, AI is moving incredibly fast, and every week there seems like there's a new tool, a new model, a new capability that promises to transform the way we work. But while technology indeed keeps accelerating, people are still people. Our brains still respond the same way that they always have. So in this conversation, we talk about the human problems that AI cannot solve, why leaders must understand that the speed of their people should indicate the speed of their technology, and how trust and communication and preparation are the real foundation for successful change, no matter if you're using AI or not. And if you are leading a team through the constant wave of new technology, this discussion will help you think about what really matters most. And now, let's jump into that conversation. I want to get us started with a quote, and this is by Christian Lang, and it says this: "Technology is a useful servant, but a dangerous master." I regularly throw my phone across the room, Travis, when I realize I have entered what we call the vortex. And it's just the way that those lights and the swiping, and it hooks me, Travis. I'm telling you, I got a problem, and I admit it. Okay. So I try to stay off my phone on the evenings and all that.
Have you ever tried putting the grayscale on your phone?
I have, and I have a hard time I love visual colors and interacting with things. It's more distracting than anything. It's unuseful. I would rather throttle my time than to distill my experience.
I understand.
Yeah.
I got a funny story. Hopefully my wife doesn't mind telling the story.
Go on.
So we were kind of doing kind of this fast on phones, and she turned her phone to grayscale. And the other day, she's like, she does watercolors and does painting and everything.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. It's beautiful stuff.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So I'll pass that along.
Yeah.
And she had to turn on the screen in order to see like this color of some flowers that she was painting and everything. And then all of a sudden I see her, and she's like playing this like Candy Crush game, and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
How did that happen?
Like, oh no! Yeah.
I am hijacked.
She's like, "I'm on the phone with someone." She was on a waiting on a call and everything. But
I feel that.
But I mean, right? We were like, "Oh, all the colors," and we get down a path and keep going down a path, and then all of a sudden we're like, "Oh no!" And then she turns back on the grayscale, and she's like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm back."
Yeah.
So we get caught in that all the time.
We do, and I bring up this funny idea of the technology and all this to simply say all of the things inside of our brains that have led us to being addicted to the colors and the swiping, all this, have been in our brains for a long time, Travis. It's not something new. Is it hijacked and being controlled? Yeah, absolutely. But the point is, the human brain has been the same way for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what hasn't been the same way for a really long time? The apps on our phones, Travis, the apps on our computers, the way that we interact with things. And so today's conversation, I want to talk about how, while we should embrace technology changing, we have to not become the slave to these technology changes at the expense of our people and our organizations, and even at the expense of ourselves. And so let's talk about the human problems that AI can't solve, and specifically inside of organizational leadership. We could talk about pop psychology. We could talk about spirituality. There's so many things we could take this. I just want to focus us in on leadership, on helping our people in the midst of this tremendous change. And I'll set the table of simply saying, we've gone through a lot as people over the last 6 to 7 years, like a lot. We've gone through things that have impacted the entire globe, things that have impacted whether it's state by state, things that have impacted business, and things that have impacted politics and technology and family things and all this. We've gone through a lot of change, Travis. So when all of a sudden someone looks at their email inbox and they see the word change, typically that doesn't bring a lot of serotonin to their brains. It brings a little bit of alert, a little bit of nervousness. And so you and I have had the opportunity of implementing AI and walking alongside people with technology and consulting and going through change. And what I keep seeing after all these years of working with you, Travis, we're kind of dealing with the same people things still that we were. So that's the table for today. I've got some extra things I'll probably lace in here, throughout. But Travis, take me back to maybe some of those changes that you saw in the early days of the internet. You were just sharing on the last episode about
I sound like a dinosaur, though. I mean,
you're kind of a dinosaur. You're like a bronchiosaurus. Beautiful and elegant, old, strong, sturdy.
And old.
Yeah, I said it in there. Travis, take us back to the early days of just seeing all these changes. Of being like, wait, what's this website and why am I needing to call? You've helped scale up a lot of companies and you've gone through a lot of change. What are the things that you still see that are people problems that technology just hasn't yet solved?
Technology is never going to solve the meeting that you sit down and everybody goes around and you're like, hey, I'm thinking about a new idea. And you have half the room excited and half the room's dreading it.
And that's about how it always is, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And then other people, and then there's like that one person who's like, I don't care, whatever you want to do.
That's so true. The people that just don't care.
That is okay.
Yeah.
So you will continue to have that. I don't care what technology you have. I don't care what business or industry you have. You'll always have the people who like the gas and the people who like the brakes. And then you just have the passengers sometimes. So
yeah.
So that's you can't get around that. But what you can get around is how you deliver your communication. You can get around on prepping people ahead of time for the meetings. I always like doing this. And this is a hack that served me very well throughout a number of times when we've had change. I knew the people that I needed to just say, I'm thinking about an idea. And then you let it go. You don't say any more about the idea. You just say, I'm thinking about this idea. And you let it simmer with them for about a week or so.
Okay.
And you don't talk any more about it. You just say about the idea. Please don't. If you go into more detail, they're going to throw up the walls. Then you have the people that need to know all the details within an idea.
Within that first moment, or
sometimes in the first moment.
Okay, so you are already segmenting out.
So we're starting to segment.
Need.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you're segmenting out these people because more than likely, you as the leader, you're very much a decisive person. You've already had an idea. You already know where you're going to go. Okay, but your team, they haven't been thinking about this idea. They haven't been brainstorming or talking to other people about it. They're hearing it for the very first time. And that is a piece as a leader. And more than likely, you've got this. But for these new leaders out there, and even in management teams that are just new to management, like understanding who the people are around the table, even to your own managers themselves managing up. You have to go through and say, okay, I have to identify the people that need to make it feel like it's their own idea, one. Then I need to go and figure out the people that need to understand some details on it, and then you need to figure out the people who need to know the why behind it. Once I have figured out those people, then I'm able to have a good conversation in a meeting that we might have later on.
Okay.
So I've already prepped.
Break that down again for us one more time. Those 3 buckets.
Those are the people that need to have to figure out maybe them knowing it's their own idea.
Okay.
So you kind of prep them. You're just like, I'm thinking about an idea.
That's the seed idea.
That's the seed.
Okay.
So we're seeding it. Then we need to know the people that need to know the how behind it. Like, how are you thinking we're going to do this? So you kind of give them some pieces of like, I think this is how we're going to do it. And then you have to know the people who are the why. Okay. So why are we doing this? Because usually the people of the why is usually, and I'm going to paint with broad strokes here are the people that are the breaks, because they're like, we don't know why we're doing this, or we're not going to do this. I have these conversations with my teenager all the time right now. He's like, why are we doing this? I don't understand. I'm like, because I said so. No, it's
bad answer.
Bad answer. So you have to give them, and then when you're sitting in the meeting and you're talking about change, or you're like, hey, we're going to go and do, or I want you buy-in. Now you've covered your bases.
Okay.
And you're going to have a better conversation because now everybody's had a time to prepare for it. Nobody likes an idea or something that's going to change at them if you just throw it on them and expect them to respond right away.
Yeah.
They have not been thinking about it. And we can even take that into relationships.
Yeah, it's almost never the best idea to just spring something on anybody. It's almost never an idea. Sometimes it's required due to the urgency of the matter. But when we're talking about specifically inside of how fast technology is changing everything, you have time, period.
Yeah.
Like, unless there's a security problem, but again, there's a caveat. And Travis, I was going to ask some questions on behalf of kind of the devil's advocate, but I'm actually just going to give the answers instead of asking them. The concern could be, is it not contrived to be like, well, I already know what I'm going to do. I'm going to let them think like it's just an idea, but then I'm just going to do it anyway, but I'm seeding it. Someone might think that. And I've seen this firsthand from you. I've seen it from other great leaders. Good leaders are humble, and they're helping that person because that's the way that person wants it to be. If it's somebody that then is going to be like, wait a second, this isn't just a seed of an idea. He actually is going to do it. Well, then they no longer fall in that category. They're going to be one of the other categories where it's like, hey, I've thought about this a lot. I just want to make sure it's on your radar. Here's what I'm thinking. So they're going to fall into that other category. So that's the answer right there. The second thing is, I mentioned humble, is that yes, if you seed an idea and then later on a good leader, when they are given new information that they weren't able to see, then they will pivot. Now, most likely as the leader, you probably have better understanding of your whole organization than anyone else does. Like, because you're getting feedback from the board, you're getting feedback from your direct reports, you're looking at like company-wide narrative and all the data. So you probably have a better perspective, but a good leader is doing the research of kind of knowing where you're going to go, and then you're caring for people where they are. And then, yes, if someone brings up something that's valid, not just their feelings, because you're going to lead through their feelings. I just want to make sure and kind of touch on those things, because I can see the skeptics out there be like, oh, you're just playing the game. It's
well,
like, no, this is on purpose.
I wouldn't say, it's playing the game. It is being a responsible leader because you're doing due diligence.
And you're caring for people.
You're going through, because there are times that I've seeded ideas and I'm like, I'm thinking about this. And then they're just like, that's just stupid. They're like, I wouldn't even go down this path. They're like, oh, okay. Yeah, well, maybe I am chasing a shiny object here. Yeah. And I consider those people really good tethers. That keeps me grounded in whatever the business might be, because as leaders we like chasing shiny objects.
Oh yeah.
And that's obviously, we see that with AI. You're like, oh, we got to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just sit down, let's survey our team, let's figure out what all they're using. And we also want to go really fast sometimes, and like I can't tell you how many times that I'm like, oh, okay, I do want to go fast, and we become impatient. But then our impatience overtakes us, and then we cause more harm by us trying to push something super fast with your team. And in fact, quite frankly, you're actually going to go slower due to your impatience.
Yes, you're going to derail instead of stay on the rails. It's better to go nice and steady and slow on your rails. And like sometimes it takes a little while for those train wheels to keep going. But then you're locked into your track. You go too fast around that corner because you're just trying to chase the speed of technology. And that kind of goes back to our original quote, that when you let technology make the decisions because technology is changing the speed, you have to know the speed of your people. Now, perhaps your team can go faster, but you're only going to know that by knowing your team really well. And so to me, because technology is giving us so many opportunities to solve new problems, to increase value, we need to know our people better than ever Because then all of a sudden that moment will happen, a market moment, an opportunity to maybe acquire a new business or build a new product, something like that. You might need to strike while the iron is hot. Therefore, do the work ahead of time to know what the speed of your people really is.
Well, and then also too, you've got the trust of your people that if there's an urgent matter that needs to take place. Now your team realizes it's not another shiny object.
Yeah.
It is a real,
that's really good.
A real good either opportunity or problem that
Yeah.
needs to be solved today.
But
it all goes back to that trust side of it. That, okay, I now, the leadership team goes around and is like, now I understand and I trust that part of it.
Yeah. The problem that you discover at any single moment is very seldom the actual problem. I learned this in therapy, Travis. And so that said, if you are really seeing a need, like, oh, this is a great opportunity, this is the timing, this opportunity, this is pretty fast, but now I'm nervous about my team. That moment right there is proof it's not undoable, Travis, okay? But that's your problem, that all of a sudden you don't have a good touch on your people. You don't know that you've got money in the bank, and you're going to say, hey, I know I'm going to make this go all the way down to zero with you, but I've invested enough time into you to know, like, I need to make a withdrawal now. I need you to go fast with me here. And so this is why I'm bringing up this people conversation around technology right now, Travis, is because every single small business will be faced with what appears to be an instant decision that they're going to have to make. And maybe they will have to make it because technology is the speed. Okay. You can say no, and that's fine. You might just then miss that opportunity, or you can prepare now. And so that your team knows, like, hey, I want you to know now, and you're investing in your people, your leaders, they're investing in each other. So then when that moment happens, you can strike while the iron is hot. Now, Travis, I'm going to pivot over into something else that is accelerating our experience of change inside of organizations. And it's been a growing thing for me. I am someone who's generally okay with the idea of some imperfections, some mistakes, some failures. And I'm using all those very negative words first, and I'll calibrate that. I've been writing music and being creative and drawing. I was drawing as a little kid. And I think that people that have a bit more of a creative mind are okay exploring, testing limits. Maybe it's not absolute perfection, because I'm not going to be some sort of I'm not painting the Sistine Chapel and spending my whole life on it. I'm just drawing a picture. So I know it's not perfect. So in a lot of people's brains that are a little more creative, they're a little more okay with what would be labeled as a mistake or a failure. Okay. And I am using air quotes for those of you who cannot see this video. That said, very few people are the type of creative that maybe my brain is and other people. In general, the idea of failure, for good reasons, can be very scary. And I think that failure and mistakes and it not being 100% precise has caused problems in their past, whether it's relationships or their job, or, man, they missed that test and they didn't get the certification. So I understand the sentiment all around there. I'm giving a nice broad caveat here to cover it. But because AI is changing so quickly and technology is changing so quickly, one of the things that we can do as leaders to help our people is to become okay with these little, I'll call them micro failures, little tiny little things that might be, oh yeah, let's tweak that and fix it, and then we'll get it out the door. Not things that destroy the brand, not things that lose, a $2 million client, nothing like that. Okay. We're going to be very protective of those key things. But as we're testing out a new process, Travis, we need to realize we can't get to 100% perfect before we launch it to our team inside, before we launch it to our beta customers first. It's just the nature of the way technology and development works. And especially this, you and I were just chatting. Whereas you used to have a whole team of 50 developers that would be out there, and you'd have a whole team of QA who would sit in a room and try to break things. And that's all they do. Well, because of the way that we use things more and we want to get things out to market faster and beta testers and all this, it's almost like the actual team is part of the beta testers now. But that's not very comfortable. So I've given you a whole bunch of things. Just run with any of that, Travis, because we've had a lot of these conversations connected to people.
Yeah, so I think that there's you bring up a really classic thing is creatives versus engineers. So that we have the creatives who are willing to say, you know, I'm willing to throw out my art out there. And what is it? What is it? The quote that you always give me on artwork?
Yeah, art is never complete, only abandoned.
Yeah,
and I've looked at who the source of that is. Feel free to put it in the DMs of the comment. I can't find who originally said it, but it's true. Art is never complete, only abandoned.
Yeah, and so I think about it that way. That as we're developing out software today, and as we're developing out new apps, it is, hey, we're creating this so fast because we want to get it out to market and we want to help our customers. And at times you just have to be okay with some of the imperfections there. But with that being said, there is the engineering side of it, and we're not developing out medical devices right here. We're talking about, somebody didn't have, the button was in the wrong area or et cetera.
Or
so
copy wasn't exactly on brand or something.
Yeah, and please note too, this is in terms of startup land.
Yeah,
so
small businesses, startups.
We're like, we're not talking where, all of a sudden the site goes down, we're losing millions of dollars a day based on an e-commerce channel. Please note, I've been there, I've done that. You do need testing there.
That's not what we were talking about.
I want to say that this is for the small business owner that is wanting to get out there, who's wanting to create their best process. And it's not all around perfection, it's about speed. But also too, you also have to make sure that your people are aligned with it and they're okay with it, and that there's going to be those types of situations that are out there. But where I think the true nature of it is how fast you can fix it.
I love that. How fast can you fix it? And then how deep is the problem actually?
Yeah.
Is like, so Travis, I hated in school when I'd get less than a 100% of my test. I hated it. And I would usually do extra credit just to make sure I was able to top it out. That's how my brain works, in case anyone's wondering what this crazy creative is talking. No, I am, Travis knows, some sort of equal parts engineer and creative is bizarre. That said, Travis.
It's amazing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I now finally, after years of therapy, also think it's slightly interesting. Travis, to me also, so I was with a coworker just the other day. We were working on a project, and this is a teammate, internal. And this person had been working a whole bunch on a project that we're working together, just he and I together internally. And we sat down, and within about 5 minutes of the meeting, we realized we were not in sync, and it would appear that the task that he had been working on was a failure. To him, he felt like he was a total failure. He immediately began to apologize and all these things. I was like, wait, no, all we did is we just learned something new, and let's go and figure it out. And then literally within an hour, we had already moved forward. Within then the next evening, we had already figured out more. And then by the next morning, everything was already solved. But the point is, we sat down, and because it wasn't perfect for him, and he's an engineer brain, he felt like he was just a total failure. And so I actually gave him this pep talk. And that's part of what I wanted to share about today, is that when you're working as a team to create something new, you will not create it perfect. You will create it. And something that is created can be tweaked. Something that is created can be led and guided and enhanced and all. But something that's not created, not only can it never fail, which makes some people feel safe, it can also never exist.
Yeah. And I want you and the leaders out there that are listening to this, that you are going to have a different mindset in what John is talking about here. And this is something really important that I want us to all get, that if you have to have the trust of your team that you've hired and that you've worked with, because you're going to get a better product out of your team if you have the trust and knowing that, okay, yeah, is some things going to break? Yeah, they're going to break, but we'll also know that you're going to have a way better product than something that's very sterile if you wanted it just all buttoned up and everything there at the beginning. So you have to have the trust that when we're talking about hey, it might not be perfect today, but we will get it perfect tomorrow. That instead of perfect in a month from now. But that has to be based on the trust of your team and what you're developing out. So,
Yeah, when you're building something new, you are chasing something that does not yet exist.
mhm.
And that's a beautiful and a terrifying concept. But if Thomas Edison had only created one trial at the light bulb, and then the first time that it was like, oh, well, it failed, and it's just a binary on-off failure. But no, what he looked at is said, oh, well, what about this particular thing can I change for next time? Then he would change it. It's like, oh, what about this particular thing can I change for next time? And then all of a sudden, one of the greatest technology revolutions that has ever happened is now we have light, because he was willing to embrace those.
And let me say this, that we didn't stop creating light bulbs after the first one was created. We've iterated and iterated and iterated over and over and over again. And it wasn't that we stopped there. So just because we got the light going on, I'm guaranteeing you that first light bulb did not work as long as the LEDs that are working today.
Oh man, it lasts forever.
So now if you think, you're like, well, I need to produce the perfect LED that lasts forever, and that you're just starting out with, I've never invented a light bulb at all. Like, that is the process that you're trying to create right now.
Wow.
And so don't try to jump to 1,000.
Yeah.
Let's get to the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, it works.
Yep.
Okay, great. Turns on. Does it last very long? Nope. All right. Let's figure out. But let's go. We can sell those
a little longer.
We can still sell those light bulbs.
Oh man, I used to change light bulbs all the time.
Oh
Travis.
my God. I mean, it's crazy. So anyways, that's where I'm.
Travis, that is awesome. I think that I want to land here on let's move away from the idea of the failure, because it's always super uncomfortable, and I can feel the energy just in the room here with you and me, and I can tell our podcast listeners. Travis, let's move just to the next thing, that it is not about, hey, we're getting ready to do something fast. It is about, we are now in a perpetual motion from here on out. Yeah. And the willingness to embrace our neuroplasticity, our willingness to learn new things all the time, our willingness to update our phones with the new operating system, even though I'm going to have to go find the new spot, that the new button that doesn't do the thing that the old thing used to do. But like, the nature of the transient experience with technology, to me, it's so much more about, let's make sure we're in that journey together as we go through this. So then we go at the right speed, and that no one is left behind, because this ship is sailing. So let's make sure that we stay on this boat together, because that's so much more about what this is AI has launched us into a movement of our teams and a new flow. That's why we got to stay connected with our people.
We absolutely do. And over and over again, don't forsake one-on-ones and good conversations that are happening on the side. Don't think that you don't have time for it, because you'll pay for it later if you don't.
You will. Thanks, Travis. Love this conversation. This is great.
Thank you, John.
This conversation with Travis really brings us back to something every leader needs to remember right now, that technology may be changing quickly. It indeed is changing quickly, but people have not changed nearly as much. And that means that the real work about leadership is still about trust, communication, and helping your team navigate change together. When we talked about how leaders can prepare their teams for change instead of surprising them with it, and why understanding how different people process ideas, man, that can make a huge difference. And why trust inside the team accelerates the flexibility that is needed to move quickly through opportunities that do appear. We also talked about the importance of becoming comfortable with small iterations along the way, that progress rarely comes from a single perfect launch, but instead comes from building something, learning from it, improving it, and continuing forward together. That mindset of learning and adapting, that's exactly what will help teams stay healthy and productive in this new era of constant technological change. Yeah, constant change. Thanks for listening to this episode of Dataliction. And if you want to take a real next step, or maybe, your first step even, head over to Dataliction.com. Sign up for free right now to our brand new platform called Adopt OS. It's all about adopting AI. So right away, you can take a self-serve audit, helps you understand better about where your organization stands today. You'll actually get a full downloadable copy of your Adopt summary and Adopt grade. And then there's an AI policy to help you and your team really get started off in a safe way. You can also do a survey of your whole team. You can send it out and do an AI usage report. This helps you all know where you are using it, not using it, who's not using it yet. And this is probably going to be a great way to help you build trust inside your organization and have better conversations along the way. So go over there right now, Dataliction.com, and get signed up for free.